Look at this. NASA picks Blue Origin's Blue Moon lander for the Artemis 5 mission. After losing out to SpaceX, Jeff Bezos' rocket company will get a chance to carry astronauts to the moon's surface on a mission scheduled for 2029. Strange, because Jeff's last rocket, which I believe was 8 months ago, was a failed launch. I believe the crew capsule decided to go bye-bye about 38,000 feet, and in doing so was a failed launch. So strange, off the back of a failed launch, Blue Origin get awarded a lunar lander contract with NASA. You wouldn't be trying to push this private sector again, would you, NASA? Bear with me. So I'm over at Crunchbase looking at Blue Origin, which is about discussing the history of the company, and we get to see its investors. Remember, this is supposed to be a private company that's just been bizarrely awarded a contract with NASA off the back of a failed launch. But strangely enough, they've just won I think it's a $3.4 billion lunar lander contract. But when we scroll down and we look at the investors of this supposed private company, we can see what a silly charade all of this is. We scroll down, 2 investors, and those 2 investors are NASA and the United States Space Force. So it's not a private company, is it? It's funded behind the scenes by NASA and the United States Space Force. So that in itself should tell you there's a silly charade at play here. Think about it. NASA awarding a company a contract they're funding behind the scenes anyway, who are supposed to be private. Can you see the obvious problem? It's just a silly charade to try and give the private sector some validity for this silly charade that is space.
Let me show you something.
Oh, yes please, Jeff. Wow. I'm guessing this is your Blue Moon lunar lander that won you the contract. Incredible. I don't recall ever seeing something so ugly and ridiculous in my whole life, Jeff.
This is Blue Moon. We've been working on this lander for 3 years.
I could have probably come up with a better design within 30 seconds, my dear man. And my design would have looked a lot sexier than that, Tosh. Who are you trying to kid with that?
It's a very large lander. It'll soft land in precise way, 3.6 metric tons onto the lunar surface.
3.6. These clowns love their numbers.
The stretch tank variant of it will soft land
Get a sphere in there, my dear man.
6.5 metric tons onto the lunar surface. Let me give you a little tour. The deck is designed to be a very simple interface so that a great variety of payloads can be placed onto the top deck and secured. And the davit system.
Wow, so you've got a roof rack there. Should we want to bring canoes or mountain bikes, we can stick that on the roof rack. That's really well thought out there, Jeff.
Which is inspired by naval systems, you can see it over here, is what's used to lower things off of the deck onto the surface of the moon.
Oh wow, they thought of everything. So should we want to go to the moon and land in this silly oversized pantomime spacecraft, and should we want to lift some metal pyramids onto the surface of the moon, Jeff's got us covered. Brilliant. If you want to go canoeing or put any mountain biking, he's got a roof rack on his spacecraft as well.
And the davits can be customized for the particular payloads. We have here as an example a very large rover. And by the way, even though that's a large rover, this vehicle can land 4 of them simultaneously on the surface of the moon.
This literally is an oversized, silly, theatrical pantomime with ridiculous, cheap props.
And if you go ahead and go back up on the deck again, let me show you a couple more things up there, some features.
So Jeff wants to take us back up to the roof rack. Jeff, I'm going to pass me, old mate. Your company's funded by NASA and the American Space Force, which of course is the American government. So you're not a private company, so that's just a charade. Your design, tech and build is just some of the worst, ugliest, and if you ask me, unpractical space type designs I've ever come across. You want to lift pyramids onto the surface of the moon and you've got a roof rack on your lander. Ridiculous, Jeff. Crunchbase told us the truth about your company, and demonstrable reality tells us the truth about this realm and so-called space. The private sector, as I've been highlighting recently, is being pushed big time to try and give space and the globe some last sort of hope of validity. It's a dying, lost belief, guys. Doesn't matter how desperate it gets, the more they try to counter, the more obvious it gets.